like deja vu.
It's like deja vu all over again.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? All right. Well, I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Stormwater meeting to order. How about that? We have a quorum, and if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Takes me back to grade school.
Just making sure we didn't bump into each other.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Between that and this table. So, all right. Changes to and approval of the agenda.
I have no changes.
Good deal. Okay. So, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, and approval of,
So,
yeah,
Make sure you guys are seeing the blank fronts are also.
do we not need to approve the minutes rather than just the agenda?
Item. Is it not?
Yeah, yes. Yes.
Yeah, you set the
Yes.
agenda and then you move.
Yes,
So
it's
the next
next.
agenda item is the minutes.
yeah.
There's two different things. One is the agenda that you're gonna go through, the next is.
I don't, do you see minutes?
Oh, that's right. You guys can already approve those a lot. So this particular meeting doesn't have.
Okay, well, there we go. So,
Okay.
we can just skip that then. Okay. Then do we have any old business?
No, sir, there is no old business.
Okay, and then on to new business.
All right, so new business. The main goal of this meeting tonight is for you guys to review some updates to the interlocal agreements that we have between the city and Gaston County Department of Natural Resources. But before that, since we do have a couple of new members on this board, I wanted to just kind of give a quick overview of my department and what my position does. All right, so the reason that we need a stormwater program is because the Clean Water Act of 1972 prohibits the discharge of any type of polluted waters into navigable waters in the United States unless you have an NPDES permit. And so NPDES is a National Pollution Detection and Elimination System, and under that system we have an MS4, which is a Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System permit. There are 6 minimum measures that we have to meet each year. Those are broadly defined as public education and outreach, public involvement, illicit discharge detection and elimination, active construction site runoff control, post-construction site runoff control, good housekeeping, and pollution prevention. All right, so in 2019, the City of Lowell, along with a lot of other municipalities across the state, were notified that they were out of compliance with the requirements of the MS4 permit. We were given a 5-year period to bring ourselves back into compliance, and we do that via our stormwater management plan. We call it the SWAMP for short. So if you hear me say swamp, I'm not talking about a marshland. I'm talking about the document. It is a legal document. It is an agreement between us and the state, and it outlines in very fine detail how we're going to bring ourselves back into compliance with this permit. The permit is good for 5 years. We are currently on permit cycle, or year cycle 3 of the permit year. This year, there are 104 separate metrics that I'm having to track. There's 259 total best management practices that have goals to meet over the entirety of this 5-year permit cycle. So in fiscal year 2025/2026, that will be permit year 5. We will go through another audit, and we will then update and or create a new stormwater management plan to address the needs of the city as they are at that time and what we consider, is adequate to address the next 5 years of projected growth. I do not have, well, actually I do have that in there, but All right, so public education and outreach. Some of the things that I'm working on for this, citizen science. I think I've talked to you guys a little bit about the citizen science program, but my vision for this is to eventually tag into something called the Globe Data Collection System. It is run by NASA, and there's an app on your phone. And what I envision is having, instead of it being like a little free library, it would be like a little free science equipment center, and have some fairly inexpensive equipment that people could go out, take some water quality measurements, record their data, put it on the app. It goes into, we would have a team in the app, and put the equipment back away. And it would be something to get families out of the house. So if you're just sitting around and the kids are restless and want to get them off the video games, hey, let's go down to the park. Let's do some water quality stuff. And so start kind of building that sense of community and that sense of ownership of the freshwater resource that we have, which is the South Fork River. Some of the other things I do is guest speaker engagements. I have one lined up here in a few weeks with the county at the Conservation Field Days over there where the Ag Center is. Drop-in events, so River Fest in Belmont at Kevin Lofton Park. That would be an example of a drop-in event. So some of those are just, people come in and out. Others are scheduled with a finite, like you must be here between this hour and this hour to partake in the event. Elected officials workshops and social media posts and newsletter updates. So that is every single one of those that I perform. I write up a little narrative. I have a little spreadsheet that is dedicated just to my public education and outreach. And I'm looking at how many people did I interact with that day. If y'all were here last night, those of you who were here last night for the Citizens Academy, the little quiz that I did, that is one of the ways that I evaluate not only the reach of my programs, but the efficacy of them, because one of the things that we really want to make sure that we're doing correctly in environmental education is not just patting ourselves on the back like, yay, look, I talked to 200 people. Well, if I talked to 200 people and none of them really absorbed the message that I intended them to, then that's not doing anyone any good. So I try to evaluate my audiences in ways that are fun so that they don't feel like, oh, yay, it's another standardized test, because who wants that? But that's one of the things that I track very closely. Public involvement. Seems like something similar, but it's a slightly different category. This has to do with what we're doing here. When people show up and, engage with us either here or online, that's public involvement. Any communications via social media, when people participate in river sweep and litter sweep, when they come out to the annual fall festival, those types of things are public involvement where they're actually doing more stuff. And so again, I track how many people were there. If it's a cleanup of a public area, I document, hey, we got 5 tires and we found, the weirdest piece of trash. Try to both quantify and qualify the things that we're collecting, just because it's interesting and it kind of, it's a little bit more fun to report it that way on social media other than, hey, look, we picked up garbage, woo. You also feel good when you can put a number to that, because I know at River Sweep we picked up close to 350 pounds worth of garbage. So that was pretty great. But yeah, so I track all of that, and then anybody who submits a stormwater complaint to me. So I track, how did that come in? Who is the person? Where do they live, and or where's the address of the property of concern? I write up a little narrative. I reach out to them and try to see what we need to do to resolve their issue, and I document all of that. Illicit discharge detection and elimination. So we've got a couple of things. We've got point source pollution and non-point source pollution. And point source pollution is that you can point to a point where the pollution is coming out. Usually that's a cracked pipe or something it's a very small area that hey, here's the problem, here's what we need to do to fix it. Non-point source pollution is one of the things that it's one of those, it's much trickier to try to track that down. I have some things in the works with the Catawba Riverkeeper where we're hoping to start they're trying to get together a network of water quality monitors on the South Fork between all of the cities that have shoreline on the South Fork, so that we will have a network and we'll have a little bit easier time tracking down those sources of both point and non-point source pollution. I have to do inspections of stormwater inlets and stormwater outlets. An inlet is just that. It's anywhere where there's a grate or drain of some sort where the stormwater enters the system. An outlet is where it comes out. The other thing is an outfall. So an outfall is slightly different because that is the final point that water comes out at before it is discharged into a stream or directly into the South Fork River. We have, I believe, 84 outfalls currently in the city, and the swamp requires me to do about 20% of the inspections per year. So I have to, roughly, it's 16 per year, but as we grow, that number grows. So one of the fun things I'm trying to do is try to, how do you track all of that and make sure that you're not wasting efforts, going back over the same ground 3 times where this new one is maybe not getting inspected. Following up on citizen-reported issues, that's another great source of data for me. So photos, maps, GIS data, Todd helps me out a lot with this, more spreadsheets than you care to know about, checklists, and report narratives. So every little dot there is something that I've got to keep track of between me and Todd. That is our stormwater system right there. All right, so active construction site runoff control. This is the meat and potatoes of what we're here to talk about. So soil disturbances greater than 1 acre require plan review and can be subject to, they'll have temporary control measures on site to make sure that as they're disturbing that soil, it doesn't wind up washing down into the South Fork River, because one of the biggest problems that we have with pollution is sediment. That is one of the biggest issues that we've got there. So Gaston County Natural Resources Department helps us out with that. Currently, they collect a fee to review plans, and they are the ones who enforce the soil and erosion control measures at active construction sites. Now, the reason that it's Gaston County is because in order to perform these inspections and then enforce them, you're enforcing the state standard as set forth by the DOT. This is something where the partnership there allows me to focus more on the documentation efforts and then building those processes for documentation and all of the other fun things that I'm doing as I kind of build this program up. But that is something that further down the road, I am hoping to take over after there's a process by which I can go and get certified to do that. And that is something that, at least for now, we're exploring what would that look like if we brought that in-house, and is it beneficial? So post-construction site runoff control. This is your SCMs, your stormwater control measures. If you live in River Falls, they have 2 stormwater ponds there. There's a couple other commercial properties in the city that have stormwater control ponds where most of their site runoff, if not all of it, is funneled into this pond, and it sits for a specified period of time and then slowly filters. Usually it filters through some sand and some other media, so that at least 85% of the yearly average of runoff pollution that site produces is removed from that water before it is discharged either into the South Fork or one of its tributaries. And so if you have one of those on your property, you have to get it inspected by a professional engineer, architect, or surveyor, and there's a checklist that goes along with that. And then if the inspection report comes to me and says, yes, for the most part, this is working as designed, but we found these deficiencies, then I can go back out within a certain period of time and verify, okay, yes, the deficiencies have been addressed. You get a pass for the rest of the year. Good housekeeping and pollution prevention. This has to do with what we're doing here at City Hall, but also with any other municipal buildings. So I have to audit the fleet. So the Parks and Rec truck, the Bronco we have out back, all of the police cruisers, any vehicle that we own, I have to make sure that they have spill kits. I need to make sure that buildings are storing potentially spillable hazardous things in a conscientious way so that, you know, there's not the potential for stormwater pollution there. And then I have to do employee training on things like spill response. So, like I said, the interlocal agreement, we have two. We have one for soil and erosion control, and we have one for active construction site stormwater runoff management. It makes sense to combine them into one kind of package, because if you're looking at one, then you're looking at the other, if that makes any sense. You don't really have erosion without a stormwater issue, and you can't have a stormwater runoff issue that's not picking up erosion, if that makes sense. So, like I said, and you know, in future years, tentatively, I am planning to become certified to take that in-house, but that is farther down the road. So, I wanted to give you guys a couple minutes to read through the interlocal agreements. We already have these in place. I guess I should have led with that. They are a renewed version of the agreement that we've had with the county for a while now. And basically, they've edited and tweaked the language just a little bit to kind of make it more clear as to whose job it is to perform what task. Oh, so two motions. So they're two separate documents, so we would need two separate motions to approve, to recommend approval or not, because I will take this to the council a week from tonight.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, how do they go about adopting the county fee schedule?
So basically what that is there for, we don't pay Gaston County a fee to perform this like we would if it was a contractor or a private firm that we had contracted with, but we allow Gaston County to collect the fee. So one of the benefits of if I go get trained to do this and I can bring this in-house, or if I am able to expand my department and have someone else who helps me with this, we could then collect that fee, and that would possibly be a stream of revenue for the city rather than it going to the county.
So as of right now, then the county is extracting a fee from who and where?
Sorry, from the developers. So this all has to do with development, so active construction sites. So for example, Lowell Woods had to go through a plan review process, and I've gone out there and I've walked the site with Gaston Natural Resources. I went out there last week, and it was kind of a drizzly day. No one was out there, so I went out there and, you know, checked things myself. And if I find anything amiss, then I can report it to the county, and then they can handle the actual enforcement, whatever that looks like, if that makes sense.
So if we were to say, like, no to this, we'd have to, like, contract out a private firm to do these things? Or what would happen if we, I mean, what?
The state would step in.
The state would step in.
At least for the soil and erosion control portion of it. So that is something that is mandated by the state. And so the way it was explained to me by the head of natural resources at Gaston County is, one way or another, the soil and erosion control is going to be done either directly by the state or by somebody that they have signed off on and said, go forth and inspect erosion. So that particular piece of it is not something that we could contract out unless they had the blessings of the state, so to speak. The stormwater portion of it, it would just be redundant to get somebody, I guess, but Joe, help me out here, because, I mean, in my head, it's all one thing.
So I guess in theory, you could hire out a third-party engineering firm to review stormwater, the ponds, and all the other, to see if, you know, are your pipes big enough, or is it sized correctly for the amount of impervious that you have, in theory. But again, to the soil and erosion, that has to be an agency that is as Jamie said, is certified by the state. So that, again, it's either going to be Gaston County or somebody at the state level, but we can't not have somebody doing that part. I guess, and then in theory, we could, if the city and the Gaston County could not come to agreement on stormwater, then we could go in a different direction. But historically, all the municipalities, except for the ones that already have their own like big departments that have like engineers or what have you on staff, to my knowledge, most if not all contract with Gaston County in the form of an interlocal agreement, and then each city and town has an agreement similar to what you have before you. It really just says who's going to do what, who's responsible for what, and when and how.
What he said.
So what we have here is two different agreements, and if we could just take the first one and deal with it, and if there would be a motion on that. From this agreement to the previous agreement, is there any changes?
They're slight, and I did not think to do a line-by-line analysis of exactly where I mean, it's very slight. It also, they like to have these refreshed every year or so, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Does that answer your
So
question?
this is already in effect,
Basically,
and according to the language, it renews automatically
Yes.
unless somebody terminates.
yes.
Or, okay, so by changing some of the language, really doesn't affect what's in force already anyway.
No, it's not, yeah, the scope of who does what has not been changed. The previous language that was put in place, that was before my time, and it was explained to me, you know, it was very minor edits that just, from a legal standpoint, so that it wasn't, there was no ambiguity left as to whose responsibility was what.
Have the fee structures changed at all, or?
At the county?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Similarly to the city, when they go through their annual budget, the commissioners who are, there at the time would work with management, and those could change year to year, just like ours can change year to year. But the city is not a middleman, so to speak, for how this goes. Basically, the contract states that when you have a soil and erosion plan, you will submit it to Gaston County, and we're agreeing that we're supporting their fee structure, whatever that may be, but it doesn't come through us. None of our fees go to support it. Basically, this agreement just gives them the authority to act on our behalf in these types of reviews.
Well, if we could take the first one, and if somebody would like to make a motion on just the first one.
I'll make a motion that we continue to move forward with the stormwater ordinance proposal as is.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and all in favor? That's unanimous. So then let's move on to the second one. And this is pretty much in line with the first one.
Yes,
so-
it's soil and erosion
Yeah.
control. So one is stormwater, the other is soil and erosion control.
So if we'd like to move forward with a motion or any discussion?
this is still the county, right?
Yes.
It's just-
So instead of the stormwater, which we already went through, this would be the soil and
Soil and
sediment.
erosion, yes.
Yeah. Like two sides to one coin. Yeah. Would you like to make-
Make a motion to approve the soil and erosion control ordinance.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? That's unanimous.
All right, well, thank you, folks. I will take that to the council a week from tonight and recommend approval for both of them. One update. There was something cool that happened a couple of weeks ago. So we are in partnership with the regional RSPC, so the Regional Stormwater Council, Regional Stormwater Partnership of the Carolinas. And they are based out of Charlotte, but it's us and several municipalities. We kind of pool our resources. So some of the public education and outreach, we get credits through efforts that they do. It's stuff we couldn't afford to do on our own, like television commercials, radio ads, that sort of thing. We had our annual meeting, and I was elected secretary. So
Oh, congratulations.
pretty excited about that.
That's pretty cool. Well, did anyone else have anything that they would like to add to the meeting? You? Okay, I think I have one. I'd like to welcome Tamika to all of our mini boards. This is our new member. I think everybody's met her. Have you met her? Well, we'll meet. Scott, you know me. Come on. We're almost like we're related. But wow, we have so many changes, I'll tell you. But wow, that's what life is. It's always about change, isn't it? So I welcome you, and yeah, it's really nice to have so many people. It's so great. But I think that's it. And if no one has anything else to add, if I could get a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
and if I have a second,
Second.
all in favor? Oh.
You can stay here all.
This is why